a playlist original.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Back to the Blockbuster Presents Deep Dives with Owen and Gaius. If you are seeing some of these clips on social media, you are indeed seeing double because Owen is joining
We got
his
his
brother
this
along.
week.
Yeah, his twin brother. So there's two Owens this week. No, I'm just kidding. His brother Carl is going to be on with us for this episode. It got mentioned when we were at the beach. I was like, if you guys watched the movie together that I chose, you should hop on. And he was down. So this is going to be a fun one.
I'm excited. How's it going, everybody?
Yeah. So actually, you know what, Carl, I mean, I guess, it's funny because I just recorded with Jackson. And I think Owen and I, we this is our first official guest on
first official
on the spinoff, and we did jokingly say when we were recording that like Jackson should have been our first one, and I actually mentioned that to him. I was like, yeah, it should have been you, but he's family, so he's gonna come first.
Family, Fast and Furious.
But no, he understood. He thought it'd be a pretty fun idea to have Carl on anyway, so it's pretty exciting. Carl, just in case you want to give the listeners a little backstory about yourself, whatever you want to share, feel free so we can get to know you.
Sure, yeah. As far as movies go, I'm a pretty casual movie watcher. I'll throw anything on Netflix that looks interesting to me. I'm a little bit of a judge a book by its cover when it comes to the Netflix titles. But other than that, I love to be outside. I live in California as well, and just really excited to be on the podcast. It's exciting to be the first guest too on the Deep Dives. Should be an honor.
I wonder if anyone is going, I mean, especially once the episode progresses and each one of you talks, because I think you sound similar.
Yeah.
So I wonder if anyone's going to be like, I don't know who was speaking in any given moment. It would probably be fun for people to like guess who's who. Yeah, it's still kind of interesting and fun, to have you on though, and kind of see what people think about it.
Yeah, no, Carl and I have been, before you and I started watching and talking a lot about movies before, this was the guy that I would speak with about everything, give movie recommendations to, and receive also as well. So like just talking back and forth about movies, giving good suggestions, and he's got some good insights. So I'm excited to hear. We kind of did a little debrief after the movie yesterday too. So we were kind of like, hey, what do you think? Like, there was, like that 30-second pause after the movie's over.
After it's over.
You just kind of like look at each other and you're like, so what'd you think? we kind of had one of those, which was good. But yeah, I love, one of the things I love about this podcast is just, it gives me and us the opportunity, since it is in a longer time frame, to just like, there's sometimes like, I'll kind of come in to all the listeners out there kind of wondering my process on how I kind of do this kind of thing. I'll kind of give myself like 5 to 6 pointers that I can start with, of kind of things that I like to think about. But then as we talk about it, all these certain scenes start to come up, and all these different things that I remember when I watch it, especially when it's fresh in my mind, that just kind of come up, and then I'll remember a scene or I'll remember a line. And that's one of the best things about it, is just since we have a little bit more time to kind of get nitty gritty and get in depth into it, which is great. So this was a good one, a heavy one to
I think I texted when I sent you the movie. I was like, all right, just so you know, it's pretty heavy. And I think before you guys left the beach, I was like, I'm sorry, it's pretty heavy. I just wanted to make sure you guys like knew it and you weren't like, well, what the fuck did you make us watch?
Yeah.
But well done though. It's heavy, but like, we'll get into like some of the more finer points of it. I do, before we start, because offline we talked about this, but we talk about Good Pods a lot because they're really when we started the show, like their platform had kind of just really started. So a lot of people that we have been on our show, podcasts and stuff, started around the time that we did it. Yeah. And they really got in line with Good Pods because they were really like a showcase for like independent podcasters, because we're not Joe Rogan. We don't have like people like, there's not a lot of backing for this, other than playlists, like doing the editing and all that stuff. Like, we
don't have previous like celebrity fame to kind of go off or anything like that. So
so the good thing about Good Pods is like it plays a little different than other platforms, because like when someone watches your show on using Good Pods, like it's automatically shared on their front page. So this other podcasters are like seeing our show pop up on other people who happen to watch it, and then that's how it kind of gets discovered in a more organic way. And they've been really good for us. When we first started, we hit number 1 on the film reviews chart like pretty early on Good Pods.
Pretty early on.
Pretty early on, and then we fell off, and like we were like top 10, top 15.
Yeah.
And then for like the year show where you came back for, you were like, we gotta get back to number 1. And I was like, all right.
When you hit number 1 super early, it's always the goal to get back there. But yeah, I mean, as Good Pods has grown, I mean, a lot of independent podcasts have started to become popular, and I mean, that's how we've discovered a lot of the people that we interact with and connect with consistently. And there's a lot of good content out there that's been being shared around, and it's really, really great to see just the support that all of these different communities have for each other, because it's not, I think sometimes those podcasts can get a little bit, what's the right way to put it, they're very competitive, sometimes in a negative way, whereas it's very supportive, which I really enjoy.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, like, I met, you've been on the show with him before, like Antonio met on Good Pods.
Yep.
Some of the people from like the So Wizard podcast were on a couple episodes, like, and it's cool because that like top 10 has been a lot of us that started around the same time. So that's pretty nice to see. Like and there are a lot more shows now compared to when we joined Good Pods. But we were like steadily going back up since Jackson got on the show, and then we started doing the spinoff. We were like steadily getting back up. So it'd be like number 10 and then 7. And then we were just be in the top 5, like usually at 5. And I'm like, all right, I'm cool with top 5. You were like, no, I want to get back to number 1. No. So then we go up to 4. And I'm like, all right, 4 is good. And then I check it last week and we hit number 2. And I was like, all right, I'm cool with that.
I'm cool with 2 for now.
And I shared that with you guys. And I was like, all right, fine with number 2. It's still cool. And then I go to check it on Friday randomly, and we actually were at number 1 on the film review chart.
We did it. We made it
back up there. So that's pretty exciting, and that's a testament to everyone like listening on that platform and then sharing the show on that platform. And then once you kind of like deeper into it, like for the week, for like top 100 shows on their platform, like any category, our show is like number 24, and that's for like any, like that's mixing like true crime, sports, like whatever podcast shows are out there. Like that's pretty cool to be at that number with that many different shows. And then our episodes, all the episodes that we did last week were all in the top 100 episodes. The deep dive that we did last time for Dogma actually was, I think it's still in there as of this recording, still in the top 100 episodes.
Nice.
And we have a joke with the movies that we've been choosing, because Owen somehow picks movies that like
I have a sixth sense, man.
They happen to be trending in the news, or someone involved in them happens to be trending in the news. So with Prisoners, it was like a Netflix thing, right? It just like released to Netflix or just started streaming on Netflix.
It had just become, and then it was like the number 1 or 2 on like top 10 movies. So it was like kind of trending on Netflix at that time.
Yeah. And then when he picked Killing Them Softly, the director of that movie, Andrew Dominic, had directed the movie Blonde with Ana de Armas that was on Netflix that she got nominated for an Oscar for, but then the movie got like a ton of Razzie nominations for like worst picture and worst director.
He had some choice words about why.
And he had some choice words about Americans not really understanding his film. But because he was trending, Killing Them Softly was trending as well. So he picked another one. And then with Tucker and Dale, it wasn't so much that it trended, but you picked the right small movie that like people really enjoyed that one. So that one did really well too. I've only picked one movie that's trended a little, and that was only because like Better Luck Tomorrow, like Han is in that, and that same week they released like that trailer for that. Yeah. So I'm not as good at it. Owen is somehow every single time.
The right partner in crime. That's what it is.
No, maybe if Carl's on, like he'd probably be on other episodes. He'd probably be really good at picking one too. Maybe just runs in the family. Yeah. Not to say that all the movies that we've shown, except for Mr. Brooks, that didn't really work out for Owen.
Hey, listen, like we said, that sparked a great discussion, and that is the entire point of this show.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, I just wanted to, I already said it to Jackson because we just recorded, and I'm going to say it to you, like, the show doing so well on that. And by the way, listen to it anywhere you want. If it's Spotify, if it's Apple Podcasts, it doesn't matter. But the fact that
you still in my closing argument, Gaius?
Yeah, yep. But since Good Pods really is a showcase for independent podcasters. It's nice that a lot of that is coming from there. And my buddy David that I went to middle school with, every time we post like gains like that, he's just like, the last 2 or 3 months of both of your shows have just been like super focused. You can tell that like you got a good co-host in Jackson. You can tell that you and Owen are having a lot of fun doing the other show. I think that is probably what people are hearing and what they have been enjoying, and that's why it's, I think, gotten better and better each time we've done it. So that's a huge thank you as well, because I already gave one to Jackson before this. But
yeah, hey, thank you, man. I mean, like we talked about it over the weekend, and I think that it's something that it's not an easy thing to do. I mean, we've been doing this for a year and a half, and it's not something that is just like comes seamlessly and naturally. There's going to be ups and downs, and I think we've been very transparent with that. But right now we're hitting ourselves in a good stride, and it feels really, really good. My motivation and excitement and enjoyment are just at an all-time high, and it just keeps getting better. And it's one of those things that, I mean, I look forward to it every other Monday to record. And being on the episode with Jackson last week was fantastic. I guess it was 2 weeks ago now.
Yeah, I guess it was 2 weeks ago now. Yeah, released last week.
Yeah, and that was great. Actually, Carl just watched a movie with our boy Donnie Yen in it today. Actually,
nice.
right?
I did. I watched it last night. Yeah, I watched. Not exactly if it's IP Man or Ip Man. In the movie, they call him Ip Man.
Okay.
But classic old kung fu movie. And I love myself a good kung fu movie where fights just break out in the street.
Yeah, it's great.
And just
it's so great.
People are using props and stuff to hit each other. So anyway, great movie.
Have you ever seen Enter the Dragon, the Bruce Lee? I feel like you would really, if you like. I feel like you would really like. I mean, Bruce Lee is, amazing. Gone way too soon though. You could tell that he was like on the threshold of like being like a big movie star, but just of watching that guy work. I mean, I was telling Owen this, like there are certain people that like they have said that would move too fast on camera and Bruce Lee was one of those people that were like, you need to slow down. One that the guy thing right now, but the guy who played Sub-Zero in the new Mortal Kombat movie, he's another one that they're like, you're like, this is why we hired you, but please, like, you have to slow down because we can't capture all your movements on camera. And like, what a fun, good problem to have that you're that badass that you move too quickly to be caught on camera.
It's probably harder as him, like, because you probably learn those moves so like just seamlessly and you just like memorize them to a T that when they tell you to slow down, it's probably a little bit more difficult to act that way.
Yeah. And I imagine too, like, like this is what you hired me for, man. like let me do my thing. But I guess Donnie Yen also has that issue too. But I mean, what a good issue to have. I mean, that means you're just a badass.
Great issue to have.
Yeah. And Donnie Yen was like my most was my MVP of like John Wick 4. Like I loved every scene that he was in. Like so
he stole the show.
Fun. Yeah, he stole the show completely. But yeah, just it's. I'm glad you said that thing about like with this show we get to kind of like sit on the stuff that we get to talk about. Like I was thinking about it just when we were recording. Like we had to like talk about Jonathan Majors again because like that story keeps developing, and I was like, this was the kind of stuff that like Owen was like, do we have to talk about it again? Like I remember
with the Miller stuff, I was like, well, that was a little bit entertaining because he just kept doing stupid shit.
Yeah, so it was like it was the Ezra Miller one. I remember the Will Smith one with Will Smith. You're like, I don't want to cover this anymore. And I completely understand that though, and I think that's what makes doing the weekly show like really hard because it's like you have to stay on top of that and pay attention to it, and even if it's like completely annoying to do so, or like there's not much new things going on with the story, but like it's just enough where you're like, well, we brought it up last week, so we have to like talk about it again.
Well, because it progresses and it, like new information comes out and stuff like that. But yeah, Jonathan Major stuff is pretty sad because he got handed a golden ticket.
Yeah, and allegedly fucked it up. Well, we don't know for sure yet, but we will see. But that's the good thing about this show is that you just have to like talk about one thing, one movie, and it's a lot easier to keep up with. And I'm glad it's finally my pick this week.
Finally,
much different. Said we keep picking movies that are so different. This is a much different beast than Dogma was the last time we did this.
Yeah,
but I will everyone know right now. The movie that I chose was Disconnect. It's a 2012 drama directed by Henry Alex Rubin and written by Andrew Stern. It stars Jason Bateman, Hope Davis, Frank Grillo, Michael Nyqvist, Paula Patton, Andrea Riseborough, Alexander Skarsgard, Matt Thieriot, Colin Ford, and Jonah Bobo. And in the film, it explores how people experience the negative sides of modern communication technology by following three interconnecting stories. So usually, when the other person hasn't seen the movie before, we like to go into like what their initial thoughts of it before we go deeper into it, and then I share like how I discovered the movie. Carl, since you're a guest, I'll let you give your quick like clip notes on like what you thought of the movie, just overall, like seeing it for the first time last night.
So it's interesting because my first impression of the movie was that I wasn't sure if I really liked it or not. But I think that is kind of the point of it. And it's supposed to show the true horrors that can happen from online communication, and some of the stuff was pretty hard to watch.
Yeah.
But that being said, I thought that the performances were really good, and I loved the family dynamics with Jason Bateman and his family. Could really kind of tell, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this family is going through what it's going through.
Right.
So just hit you in the feels for sure.
Pretty hard, like right away. That especially that story in particular. I mean, like I think all the stories have some strengths to them, but I think just overall impact, that's probably my favorite story of the ones that are in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
But that story is a pretty tough one. That was the one I was like, oh, that's when I was like, this is heavy. That's the heavy. I mean, I guess all three of them have their own kind of heaviness to them, but that one kind of hits like a pretty like, you either know people have experienced that or like you hear about it a lot. It was it was pretty realistic, I think, and that's why I think that one hits the hardest of the three. But yeah. What about you, Owen?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I thought that it was a very different type of directing style, and like the way that it was shot was something that I really hadn't seen before. And Carl and I were talking about it too. It's like a lot of the scenes, I mean, there was probably 10 to maybe even 20 minutes of shots where it's kind of like a split screen, and you see one half is just text messages or emails, instant messaging, and the other half is just pretty much zeroed in directly on the actor's face, showing the reaction that they're having from this conversation that they're having with either whether or not it's a fake person or a kid or like anything like that. And I thought the interactions between two people behind the screen was more real than the interactions that people were having in person, because they felt that they could be a little bit more honest. They could be a little bit more realistic. And then when they are, especially with the kid, Frank Grillo and his son. So like those, like that relationship is stale. It's angry. They both kind of resent each other for his wife's death, and they don't really tell each other how they feel. They're both busy, and like he ends up connecting with Boyd. Gosh, the kid who goes into the coma. I can't remember the actor's name. Jonah Bobo.
Yeah, Bobo, yeah.
So he ends up like they would have been friends. Like they seem like they were kind of going through the same thing. But at school, he needs to keep up appearances, and he can't necessarily like he's cool, and Jonah's a little bit of a outcast. Yeah. And so like I don't know. I thought that it was an interesting take because it's really hard. Like that is what we're going through in modernity now is like people are communicating online. And how do you show that on the screen? That's a really hard thing to show, is just constant communication online without any dialogue. So I thought that was a really interesting take. The only stories that didn't interact were, I mean, Jason Bateman was the lawyer for her company.
Yeah, there's like so I guess
those didn't really intertwine, which was fine. I mean, everything else kind of came together, but that was the only one that just.
Yeah, I actually like that it's not. They don't make a big deal to like overtly connect all like they're very connected in like subtle
ways. For like no reason.
They're like like having Frank Grillo's character be involved in like stuff with Paula Patton and her husband, like and showing what he does for a living. And like I thought, like without it being too heavy-handed, like these stories are connected. I thought they did it in a decent enough way where they didn't like beat you over the head with it. I know the Jason Bateman one is the only one that's like, well, you didn't even have to like that didn't really have to happen. You didn't really need to
Yeah,
connect them that way.
yeah.
It was almost, I felt,
It's
it
also
almost
like a
felt,
2-minute scene. It seemed like a
yeah.
little bit.
It was like an
Did it
afterthought
really
that
need
they were
to
like,
happen?
oh, we got to throw him in here somewhere to like connect the story. That's what I kind of feel like with that moment. But the rest of them, I think, like mostly work
That
as far
scene
as
had one of my favorite lines.
Yeah, that scene had one of our favorite lines was when Bateman was kind of like he pulls her outside and
yeah.
he's like, "Okay, I'm gonna give you some time to rethink what you just lied to those FBI agents
Yeah,
about." And like
yeah,
because he was like calm and collected in there, but he
yeah,
knew exactly that she was
exactly.
not telling the truth,
Yeah,
which
I
I
love that
thought
moment
that
too.
was a great line.
That's a great delivery by Jason Bateman because like it's kind of like, I mean, first of all, too, I had to listen to some of the commentary because there's not a lot of, how we do like fun facts about the movie after. There's not a
Yeah.
lot on this movie, so I listened to like director who actually is a documentary filmmaker. This was his first feature film that he directed. He when he cast Jason Bateman, he was just like, I need you to grow a beard, and because everyone is gonna think of you from like Arrested Development.
Arrested Development.
You're mostly a comedic actor, and it was like one of the first few shots I guess that Jason Bateman had as a serious actor. I mean, that was the first thing that I saw him in where he was
Really?
like dramatic actor, and like I was really surprised by how good he actually was. I mean, but I guess a lot of comedic actors really do well in drama. Like they somehow can like pull some really deep
Sandler.
stuff. Yeah,
Adam
another
Sandler.
one. Yeah, Jim Carrey's another one that's done it before. Like, but yeah, he was really like, everyone's gonna think of you as like, so this guy, so we have to make you look different. And like, but that line delivery is very much like it's almost kind of snarky, and it's like it reminded me a little bit of like That's Funny, Jason Bateman.
Michael, yeah,
yeah,
Michael Bluth.
Yeah.
that line is great. Since they are split up into 3 stories, I guess we can like just attack them like that.
Yeah.
I think I kind of got an impression of which one, but I'll just in case, like which story did you guys like the most of the 3, and then maybe which one didn't work as well for you? Are there certain things you might have changed or whatever, stuff like that?
I could start with the one that was my least favorite, and that was with the couple going to get their identity back. I guess I felt the most uncomfortable with that one. There were a few scenes where I was so worried that the husband was going to go off the rails and do something totally rash, and his behavior was just it was kind of freaking me out because you could tell he was just in this kind of manic state where he was like didn't really know what was, he was in shock, adrenaline, and that made the viewer like, I'm not really sure what was going to happen. So I guess that one made me the most uncomfortable, which is why it was my least favorite. I really liked I guess I'll agree with the consensus. I liked the family Jason Bateman, that story the best. It was just really well told, and again, I loved the family. I thought all the actors did a great job in the family.
They felt like a real family too. Like they didn't really feel like actors playing roles. Yeah.
The daughter played an amazing, like she did an incredible job.
Yeah, the scene where, and I only know this because I listened to the commentary, the scene where she finds her brother after he tries to commit suicide.
Mm-hmm.
The director did not let her see that beforehand. So he wanted her to walk in and just see it for the first time. And her reaction to that is very real. And like body weight was like difficult for her to like hold on to. And he said that she cried for like 10 minutes after that was done. But he was like,
that was traumatizing, man.
That was the reaction that he wanted from her, and that's what he got. And I mean, it's a pretty powerful moment, a hard one to watch, but like, I thought that was, when you watch it knowing that, it's like, oh wow. I mean, and she said she had a difficult time like cutting him down. It felt like played real because like that was her first time seeing it, and that was the take they used, was that just that one take, her seeing it for the first time. Yeah, I agree with you about the story with like Paula Patton and her husband. There's parts of it I think that work really well. I think they're both really good in the movie. And I think their story is pretty tragic about why they're not communicating, because they lost a child, and like there's a lot of blame to go into that, and like, and them really not talking about like them dealing with their grief over that, and then her having to reach out to like virtual strangers to have someone to talk to.
Oof.
Oh, I actually think that part of the story is really well done. It loses me a little, and not completely. I think there's still parts of it that work, but once they do go off to like, try to get their identity back, and like they're following that guy.
Mhm.
It feels a bit unrealistic
Much.
compared to the other stories that seem a bit more grounded.
Yeah. I mean,
So that's like my only issue with it.
yeah, I think that one had a great start. Like,
Yeah.
and Paula Patton is completely underutilized. Like, she didn't really
Yeah.
get to do much afterwards. Like, seemed like she, after her scene of her texting with the guy and kind of connecting with him, she was pretty much just kind of like sitting in the car, like staring at her husband. Like, that was pretty much what she did.
Yeah.
And I think that one had the most unsatisfying ending of all
Yep.
three. Because like the other ones, there's kind of some there's a lot more stakes where
Right.
and like I think that I mean at the very end when like she kind of sees the guy that Skarsgard's about to shoot, like
Yeah.
did they preface that was the guy that she was talking to? Because like I didn't get that connection at all until she's like Steven.
She brought it
Just
up.
like randomly, I was like, wait.
Yeah, because
How does she know that this is the guy?
Well, she knew that communication that she was having with Fear and Loathing, that was a person that she was actually talking to, and they were like bonding over their shared like trauma and stuff. I mean, I guess she knew him, like that was the person that she was talking to. I think what got kind of skewed was the fact that they believed or wrongly believed that he was the one that like stole their identity and all that stuff. But she knew who he was.
Yeah, I didn't get the connection that they knew that was Fear and Loathing.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like that wasn't like
conveyed enough.
Yeah, maybe not. Maybe I just kind of was like I just kind of glossed over it, but Skarsgård always plays when he plays like a normal person when he's not the Northman or some like
True Blood or
like this like seedy kind of like he like looms over people because he's probably pretty tall in real life, but he kind of hunches over.
Yeah.
And like I don't know, the unrealistic aspect that you were saying too, like in the beginning he's saying that he's about to lose his job, and then they just go on this escapade and he can sit in his car for a whole day and stake out this guy. Like
Right.
what about his job? Is he
That's true.
like
That's very true.
Yeah, so like maybe that one just kind of seemed like they didn't know how to end it, because after that, like we don't hear anything about, like I guess she says I don't care about the money.
Yeah.
But I was convinced someone was going to get shot. I thought she might have gotten shot, like when he kind of pulled the gun away, or he was going to shoot her or shoot the other guy. And so that was, I don't know if that's disappointing that someone didn't get shot, but I feel like I was thinking that it was going to go that way. And then
it was building to something.
Yeah, it felt like it was building to way more, and then it just kind of stopped. And I was like, oh, okay. And that's how I kind of felt with a lot of the stories. Like the sort of like good guy handshake between Grillo and Bateman, where it's like, yeah, you struck my son, but my son made your son try to commit suicide. Like, we're good now. I was like, okay, like there's still some felony actions that are going on that haven't really been addressed.
Yes, yeah. So. I think in a lot of ways it's a hard movie to end. Like, I mean, with like, but I guess that's like kind of makes it kind of closer, like related to life, where there's like these open ended, like you don't really know where. You have to kind of come up with on your own, like where these characters are going to end up, after the credits roll, kind of thing. But yeah, I agree with you. The story with the couple starts strong. I actually think that Paula Patton's really good in like those like quiet moments where she's just talking and texting or like typing the Fear and Loathing, and like she's conveying a lot of emotion in her face without even having to say a word. And I think she was really strong in those scenes, and I think it's kind of interesting that they do end up communicating when they go on this little mission together. I mean, I think that part is kind of interesting, but like I said, the mission itself compared to the other stories feels a bit more unrealistic than the ones that felt a bit more grounded than theirs. So I do think, even though I think there's strong moments in it, I think that one is the weakest. And I think that, like I agree with Carl, the Jason Bateman, the family story is probably the best one. It's probably the best written of the three. The acting from everyone involved, actually the acting from the whole cast is good, but like the acting from that family, what I really liked about everyone in the movie is that everyone felt really like real and well-rounded. They didn't really feel like you were watching actors playing roles. I think they were able to kind of disappear a bit, and which made the situations a bit more like at times kind of heartbreaking, because you feel like you were watching real people like go through all these things. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I agree that story is the strongest, and the story involving the news reporter,
We haven't talked about that one at all.
Yeah.
So I think that Andrea Riseborough, first of all, a nightmare of a name to put on a poster.
I know.
It took up like
Everyone's face.
When you have 6 names, you had to really squeeze her, like dumb the font down.
They're like, you have to put her name on the poster.
I was like, you need a pen name or something, girl, because like,
and what's crazy is that she's a great actress. Like, she's a chameleon of an actress.
She killed it.
She's British in real life. She never plays. She never plays the same type of roles in anything that she does. So every time you see her in something, she disappears into it. This was the first thing I saw her in. And I thought she was American, and then like I looked her up and I was like, oh no, shit. So her American accent is like flawless. Like when she's doing the whole like mocking the news reporter thing where he's like giving her best, like whatever. She does that so well. Like she sounds exact. Yeah, she's great. But I love what you said about her name. It's like because she wasn't a huge name when this movie came out, so they could have easily not thrown her on the poster.
Yeah, but she is the headline of that story, and that whole story. I thought for sure she was gonna get convicted of statutory rape. That's what I thought. That's where I thought that story was headed.
Yeah, you know what's interesting? The director said that how he had Max play their interactions was that he would tell him like, yeah, she's very into you. You need to believe that she's into you. She wants you. So that's how they would play their scenes. And then he would tell her like, you need to play it like you're not. Like, even though you might be like slightly attracted to him, you need to like create like these kind of like a distance. But he wouldn't tell each of them that they were like telling them different ways on how to approach their scenes together. And you can kind of see it in some of their interactions where she seems like a little, actually more than a little into it, but she's also like in the situation, and she kind of like stops herself before things go too far. But you can kind of tell that is how he told them to play it, because he plays it with so much confidence. Like when he walks into her apartment and the guy she works with is there, and he basically just casually like pounds him like, hey, what's up, and like walks right by him.
Take a hike.
Take a hike. Yeah. It was like, that's how he told them to play their scenes. I didn't really pick up on this when I first saw the movie, but the director said that she is lonely in her own way too, even though she wants to like get this big story for her work. Like her interactions with him online too is because she also in her own way feels completely kind of isolated, and she's usually kind of like reserved and cut off. And I never really picked up on her. I always looked at it as like this is just a job, but she in her own way isolates herself and like feels alone. And actually the interactions she has with him like are also, even though she's trying to get a story, are pretty honest too, the way she handles her conversations with him. I don't know if you guys picked up on that. I didn't pick up on it when I first saw it, but that's how the director explained her dynamic.
Yeah, Carl, I'm interested to hear what you have to say about this too, because like I thought that the way that she played it was she was attracted to sort of his young laissez-faire. I'm cool with just kind of doing my own thing, and I don't get nervous. I'm not worried about like the future. He has his shit together now, kind of, even though he's in a tough spot. But I think that she was sort of attracted to like that young playfulness. And like you could really like he gets her to smoke weed, and like she's this like sort of pinup reporter. So like I was kind of wondering what you thought, Carl, about like sort of the way that he played it, like the kid. I thought he did a really good job.
I thought the kid did a great job. By the way, what else has he been in?
He's mostly done TV. He was on Bates Motel for like 5 seasons, and then he's been on SEAL Team. He's on another show on CBS right now.
He was
he's a good actor.
Sky High or something. Oh, the pacifier. That's what I know.
The pacifier.
The fire. Yeah, he's a good
jumper. What a box office hit.
Anyways, I thought the kid did a great job. He was great at playing just the I don't care about not even thinking about my future sort of reject kid, and just kind of gets caught up in this whole lifestyle.
Yeah.
I don't know, guys. I did pick up on the fact that she was lonely, because initially I was under the impression that she found the story because she was going to this site because she was lonely.
Yeah.
So
that's interesting. Yeah, that's pretty interesting.
That's something like, okay, so she had found this site. She knew they existed, and is kind of trying to play it off as like, no, I'm doing this for work. But in reality, she is actually drawn to this kind of thing. Like you said, she smokes weed. She wants to be a rebel.
Yeah, and by the way, too, I thought it was interesting too because I never picked up on this. I didn't notice it a lot when I first watched the movie. Before she goes on camera with him, he finally sees her, she like goes and like fixes herself up a bit. Like she
Takes
doesn't
a sip of
have to
wine.
they touched it, but yeah, she doesn't have to do that if this is just like work. Like she's trying to like scoop a story. Like so, I do think that's interesting. That's probably how she did like find it. It wasn't like she was
She had
I mean, hard hitting journalists who were looking for a story. Like she was just
Well, and
really,
the FBI even says too, like she gifted him stuff, so like obviously she was paying him
Pay him.
more than just like the rate.
She had to
Right.
know that what
Whatever
she
it
was
was.
doing wasn't legal.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah.
Well, or legal in terms of her job. Like she crossed the line in the
At
job
work,
At
yeah.
work, yeah.
Yeah. By the way, he actually had them really smoke weed for that scene, so they were high.
No way.
According to the director, he was like, and they improv a lot of their stuff. Like, so there would be a lot of the stuff in the movie. He said, like, yeah, like Andrew Stern wrote a really good script, but he wanted like conversations to be more like realistic and less like and more natural. So he encouraged a lot of them to improv. And there's a lot of scenes in the movie that like that one is mostly they were like, hey, just act like you're kind of flirting and just play off each other like that. And he was like 90% of that scene is like stuff they came up with on their own.
Wow, that's very impressive.
Yeah, but I thought that was funny. I was like, you really had them like get high for one scene and smoke weed together. Yeah, I actually think that their story, it's not my favorite, but it's pretty intriguing the way it kind of unfolds a bit. And I also love the subtle, like when he first turns her down about writing the story about the whole like video chat stuff, like all that. And he was like, no, I'm not going to do it. And then that when he goes back to the place and that one girl is like getting the kid ready for his like first show and he walks in on it. And then he walks in and like that moment of realization, like this isn't like seeing this kid probably reminds him of when he first got involved in all this. And like, so maybe there could be, I mean, she really gave him and the feeling that there could be a way out for him if he wanted it. If she would have been 100, if she would have been 100% honest with like why she was doing what she was doing. I think it's interesting that she really, it's a hard character to read sometimes because I can't tell if she really thought she could run this story and have there would be no consequences from it. Like like she get a big boom in her career and like we can still figure out how to like get you out. Like I feel like she was a smart woman, so I'm really interested that she didn't really think all those things through entirely.
Well, that's what I kind of got from that is that she was trying to do what was best for herself. Yeah. And then she ends up meeting this kid who actually does turn out to move her and she has some sort of sentimental feeling for him. Yeah. And in her like realization and reaction to trying to do a good thing, she kind of gets caught up in this mess. And so to save her own skin, she has to kind of pull away and do what's best for her, which hurts him in the long run. So it's like, yes, she was, I wouldn't say selfish, but she was just looking for a story, doing her job, but then gets too involved and then has to save her own skin and hurts him in the process. So yes, she did exploit him, exactly what he says at the end of their scenes.
Yeah.
And like it sucks for him, but it's like she did everything right, I guess, except getting too involved. And the only thing that sucks is because I mean, I thought that she was a good person. I thought that I think
she was
like a likable person, but like to him, she's this like conniving like person who's trying to just get whatever she wants and doesn't give a shit about anyone else. And so that kind of sucked to see because that's his only impression of her, where she's gonna leave always thinking like, wow, this guy really thinks that I just took advantage of him, even though that's probably not the way she felt.
Yeah. By the way, that scene where he blows up on her, I think they're probably their best scene they have together. And when he gets mean to her and he's like, I turn people on, like you can turn a light switch, like he's on and he just lays into her. And then I love that like the subtle thing where he mentions about her exploiting him and he has that like kind of line read where he almost cries when he says it. Cause like, I think he did believe that like she could have, possibly got him out of that. And now like, she thought she could kind of play both sides and like do what she needed to do for work and then also pull him out the life he was. I think the tension though building up to that where he's like on like in the back seat on the phone and the guy's like, give me your phone, and he's like
yeah, that was a tense moment.
The tension before the climax was really intense.
I
mean, gosh, and I thought it paid off too when it finally hit and there was all the slow-mo. She's falling back from the punch. Jason Bateman swinging the hockey stick with just rage in his face.
I just felt like the stakes were it was gonna be worse than what happened, because to her, she gets sort of like kind of hit. She gets punched in the face, but there's no blood on her face at the end. I thought she was gonna get slam her, like whiplash her head and either die or just be seriously injured.
You know what I'm noticing in your like what you were waiting for during this climax is that
I was waiting for some dark
someone was going to die. You were like, why did no one die at the end of the movie?
Well, it seemed like everything was so serious leading up to it, and then in the end, it was kind of like the guy didn't die, no gun went off, and for her, she just kind of got bitch slapped by this guy, and like yes, that was. I mean, I thought the tension leading up to it in that climax was fantastic. It was amazing, but I felt as a viewer was going to be more serious. Like there were going to be more serious consequences.
I understand that. It does feel like it's building to like someone's going to get hurt, like really, really bad. I mean, I guess like, is it good that it didn't end in that kind of like typical way where you're like, oh, I think someone's gonna get it. Like they kind of subverted expectations like a little bit. It's like they kind of subverted expectations like a little bit. I guess it's good that they didn't do what we thought they were going to do. Yeah. But I do agree where like the stories are so big that it felt like there would be major.
Well, because the whole movie is just a straight like incline. It is just building the entire way.
Right. So this movie gets compared a lot to Crash in the way that and the way that the story is built. And I think that movie that builds to a point where someone
Crash?
does.
I have not seen Crash.
Oh, I won't read it for you. But that builds to a point where like stuff happens like that's really like massive, and like that's a lot of the comparisons that come with Disconnect, where they're like, oh, I felt like it was going on the same trajectory as. You're not the first person I've heard say that they thought worse things were going to happen by the end of the movie, because the tension really does feel like you can cut it with a knife while they're building up. So like these like stories like colliding with each other. But yeah, I agree with that. Going back to like the Jason Bateman story, and actually Frank Grillo doesn't get a lot of credit. Dude, I think
he does so well in that.
He's a really good actor, and he's known more for like action roles and like being a badass and stuff like that. But
Battle of LA.
Yeah, he is in that one or something. And he's in like the Purge. He's in some of the Purge movies too. Like he is he is known for that, and like this is like probably some of the best stuff he's done, I think, as an actor.
I'd put it up there.
He I guess when they made the movie, his sons were young at the time when he made it. He has three boys, and he said that he could relate to because he had a very similar, like maybe he was working too much. I'm too detached from like what my kids are going through. So he was able to kind of bring that to the role. So he very much understood like what that father-son relationship was like, how they like weren't even communicating at all. Like his kid clearly is going through a lot of stuff himself, which is why he's acting like such a bully at school with his friend. I mean, it opens with them being destructive little shits. That whole thing with like the pee in the at the gym.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so gross.
Just mean kids. Just mean kids.
Yeah. But it said that Colin Ford played his son and the other kid too. He had like advisors, like young people who were on set they were kind of bullies when they were going up, and like would explain to them like made them do that and how they changed and like stuff they were going through and made them act out that way. So they actually learned a lot just from talking to people who have experienced it. And he was really worried. I guess the director really wanted the kids to come off as real, because he was like, sometimes kids can be pretty precocious in movies like this. They cannot really sell these kind of stories that well. But I think he did a really good job casting all the younger kids in this, because they really felt real.
Yeah.
And I do like that, like, you learn right away that, like, you know, he doesn't have good communication with his father, and all the conversations that he ends up having first with the son and then with Jason Bateman when he's like talking to Jessica, but talking to him, everything that he's saying is coming from a place of truth. Mm-hmm. When he's asking Jessica, did he ever talk to you about this? Like, you know, did he ever try to like tell you that he wanted to kill himself? And then when he gets to that point, like, he was like, well, you know, maybe he thought that you wouldn't care. Like, all that was true.
Real. It was all real.
And like, that's what I think I thought that was a really interesting, cool way to write that, where, you know, that kid needed something to like get
an outlet.
That's an outlet. Not the best way, but like, you know, that
many other ways.
Other ways. Honestly too, like, there's so many scenes in the movie that are played out, like you said, like with just the chatting, right? And there's no like dialogue. That scene where he's talking to Jason Bateman character online, and it's silent, and it's just you're reading it. Still pretty powerful though, that you're just your reactions and just like, when he gets to the point where he says like he probably thought you wouldn't care, and Jason Bateman's like face is like utter disappointment. Like,
That's brutal.
That was one of the most powerful scenes to me. It just makes you think like, what would any parent think?
Right.
You're totally feeling Jason Bateman's character like, of course he loves his kid. Of course. Like, what else is he gonna do? Like, you totally feel for him.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's no words being spoken, but it's powerful.
But then, I mean, the kid also, Jason, I guess the kid's name is, he kind of gets carried away because he's opening up to this father figure, and then he's like, "Oh, we never meant for it to happen." Like that would be a real conversation that you would have with a father, but he's talking as this fake person, and then Jason Bateman's face goes from like sort of despair to kind of like
what the fuck?
Wait, what's going on? Yeah. And
I also,
I thought that like great. That like dynamic between Bateman and Hope, like it seemed so realistic because they were both coping with their sadness and like the whole experience in different ways. Like she was there, like the line where he's like, "Yes, you can go and sit and kiss and rub his and like touch his hair. I can't fucking do that. Like I need to be doing something else. Like you do that. That's good for you."
That was such a real moment. That was really well written and acted too. That was really good.
And like the daughter seeing it from the outside, thinking that he's being selfish, trying to get guilt off of his own plate. But I think that he's just looking for justice, and he's looking for reasoning why it is. I don't think Bateman thought it was his fault. I think he's like, this is what I can do is figure out what happens, and that's gonna sort of close the story and kind of figure it out more for himself. But yes, he wasn't really by his son's side, so that's kind of it was really, really, really well done because each person had their own perspective on how they were going to deal with it. And each family member also, like, their reaction to the other family members was a little bit misconstrued. Like, they were all kind of doing it. They were all doing the right thing, but just not communicating.
And I actually, like, love the scene that they have at the hospital where he, like, goes to see him and, like, he's actually talking to him for real. Like, Mike. Yeah, you're right. Not for real, but like, I also love when Jason Bateman like realizes like that's who the like he knew something was off. He's so pissed off too. But that kid has a lot of great scenes and like with some kind of heavy hitters too, where he holds his own. Like the scene where they find out it's iPad stuff and he like confronts him about it. That whole scene is so good. And like when he gets to the point where he's like, what that father's going through, and he basically yells at him. He's like, "I know that father, and he's nothing like you." Like that kind of hit pretty. I mean, that was a really well done moment, and for someone that young to kind of pull that off, I thought was really good. And like, and Frank Grillo, they said that they worked on that scene a lot together because they wanted it to be completely authentic, and they got to places where there were times where like Frank Grillo would kind of cry in the scene, and the director's like, "I don't think you would." Like, so kind of dial it back. I don't think the character would, so dial it back. But he was reacting that way because he was really felt like, he was hurting his actual kid. That's how he felt like in that scene with him. But they really wanted it to be as authentic as they possibly could. And I guess that was the scene that they worked on the longest together. Yeah, right.
I thought they pulled it off great because, I mean, I'm sure we've all been yelled at by our parents for doing something wrong, like getting caught doing something you're not supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
Obviously not all of us get caught doing something like this,
but
I'm sure if you think of like the most serious thing you've been caught doing, it really felt like, oh God, these kids are in trouble. And Frank Grillo, like when he's banging his fist on the table, yells at his friend's kid to just go home, get out of here. I don't care how you get home. I am gonna be talking to my son right now.
I mean, the look on Fry's face when he's getting yelled at by his best friend's dad, and he's the one who kind of sparks the whole confession. And like, dude, that like just the shot of the two kids kind of staring there, like staring at Frank, and like the sense of like, we're caught. Everyone has had that feeling, and I thought the face that Fry has just was so authentic because it made me feel like guilty and embarrassed and terrified, just absolutely terrified. Like your stomach is probably just curdling with everything that is happening. And so that scene was just great because you also saw Frank Grillo being like, he's like, okay, yeah, you guys did something bad. What'd you do? Like, probably just gonna scold them in a normal way. Like,
it like builds.
He's like, wait, you had something to do with that? Okay, this is you're in. He's like, yes. Like that whole thing was just fantastic. It was crazy.
And by the way, I know this is different. This involves my mother, but I've actually, when I was in high school, when you think like parents are going to do something because like your friend's there, I've definitely, my mom one time was like, Sean, get the fuck out. There's always like
one, like, talk to my son.
He's like talking to my son right now. So that is a very real thing. But I also think it's interesting that he knows he does something wrong, but like any parent, he goes to great lengths to kind of protect him.
Yeah.
And like because of what he does for a living, he's able to kind of just like wipe it all away, like it never happened. And
I was interested to hear what you guys thought about that. If you were like, if you sided with him on that decision. I mean, because a lot of the like themes in the movie, one thing I noticed was that they kept showing shots of characters looking at pictures of their children, like Jason Bateman scrolling through photos of his son, or a zoom in on a picture of Frank Grillo's son when he was deleting the iPad.
Okay.
It's like, at the end of the day, these parents just want to take care of their kids. And I don't know. I did not know. I did not expect him to delete the iPad
stuff.
Yeah. I can't say, I'm not a parent, so I don't know what it's like to kind of like unconditionally have your child's back. No matter what. But yeah, I think that he thought he was doing the right thing. Is like, would he technically be implicated if he did that? If like, because I'm wondering like what the repercussions. I mean, I'm obviously thinking hypothetically outside the movie.
Outside the movie.
Yeah, I know, but like he's doing something illegal to like save his kid's ass. And regardless of how serious it is, like, I'm wondering how, like, what the conversation he's going to have with his kid afterwards. Like, listen, I had, like, there's no turning back from that. He's like, you know what I did for you? You owe me big for that.
Because,
so,
like,
I mean, I kind of agree with his action. Like, as a parent, you kind of, I don't want to say have to, but I understand why he did it. He had the ability to do it. So, I mean, he's going to try and, also probably save some scrutiny for his parenting because everyone's going to come after him. Jason Bateman immediately punches him in the face when he's like, that's your son and you knew? Like, fuck you, pretty much. Like, so he's kind of saving his own ass at the same time as well. His whole family's reputation.
Yeah, and I guess the legal part of it too, right, is because there is like the picture exchange, right? That makes it like
child pornography.
Child pornography, yeah. And then of course like just the stigma of like what you did led this kid to try to kill himself. So I guess Frank Grillo would be implicated after if he knew about it and wiped it away. Like, yeah, he would get in some kind of trouble.
Of evidence.
No one found out about it. But I mean, I'm assuming. Like, I'm not a parent either. I think some parents probably would.
Turn their kids in.
I think they would do what he did. I think they would try to, like, even though like we're supposed to be taught like there's consequences for our actions and all this stuff. I mean, it's different when you're a parent though, and it's your kid. And I thought him doing that was pretty realistic. I don't know if I agree with from a moral standpoint about it.
I don't think a judge would agree, but as a human, I think he did.
I think a lot of parents would though.
It's a human thing.
Very human thing. I think a lot of parents would do it, and of course he probably he has his own guilt. Like my son was doing this stuff because like I have been completely distant and kind of like not really being a parent. Just kind of like,
well, he pulled out the big guns on his son too, saying, "I'm so glad your mother's not here to."
When he said that,
I mean, that's kind of like no wonder the kid said what he did. Like, they both were pulling like their top retort.
Yeah. Also, the girl who plays the sister, because the sister and the mom in that story don't have like a lot of scenes, but I think they have some pretty strong moments. However, the scene where she hucks loogie at her friend,
yes.
So it's a really powerful moment though. But every time I watch it, that blonde hair girl is in like what 2 scenes, and I can't imagine being like, I'm getting paid enough to do this movie because it's a small movie. How many times do you have to hawk loogie in my? He said he only made her do it once on the commentary. but it's so aggressive and comes out of nowhere. I was like, I don't know if I was an actor, I would be like, I'm cool with like
She didn't hold
spitting in my
back.
face.
That looked like a big loogie.
It was a big one because she like braced back and like went in like Jesus.
That is completely redefined my thought. Like when someone says, "Oh yeah, someone like spit in my face," that's kind of low on my list of like, oh, bad things to happen or disrespect. Now, after seeing that, that is at the top of the list now of just like disrespectful things to do to someone because I mean it was completely valid. Like I'm trying to think of it in terms of a high schooler because like as sister's friends, like that's probably the only thing she's talking about and going through. And like I don't know how long they don't really do. I like how they don't kind of mention like, oh, 3 months later or some bullshit like that. So the timing's a little bit just like a little bit ambiguous. So I mean the friends are probably hearing this all the time and then they're kind of going through their own regular high school stuff. So I get that it's tough for them to continue to focus on it, but it's like that scene was just so it felt really real and just
completely justified too. When she did it, I was like, you know what,
justified.
You know what, totally deserve that. But every time I watch it, I'm like, right, it's a huge fucking loogie, and I don't know how like they
in her mouth too. It's not just like on the forehead; it's like all over full face.
And her face, the girl, to her credit, the girl acting in that part, she's just like disgust. Is like probably very real. And like I don't know, that it's a powerful moment, but I was like, damn, they had to really shoot that. She had to really spit in this girl's face, and it was very real. It's not CGI spit. This is actual like saliva from your mouth. It was very satisfying.
Very satisfying. Yeah.
I love that. I was like, thank God. Like I thought she was gonna like at least I wasn't expecting spit. I thought she was gonna like smack her or something like that when I first saw the movie.
I thought she was just gonna get up and leave or be like, fuck you. But instead, that was the perfect way to do it. It was just that was like, yep, we're done. We're done here.
It was, the director said also went back and forth on like how long they wanted the sister character to kind of withhold the like, well, this picture got sent around and this is why I think this happened. He actually mentioned that like at some pushbacks, so they were like she should have right away. But I mean, he also looked at it as like, well, she was processing how she found him and like all this other stuff. Like maybe she wouldn't think to do it right away or how like to address it to her parents. How do you guys feel about that? Like, did it seem like something that she would show them right away? Like, I think this is why this happened, or does it make sense that she kind of sat on it because she's dealing with her own kind of processing what she saw?
I kind of assumed it was like she's a little bit older, so she's in maybe
different grades.
It would take a little bit longer for the picture to circulate, and it didn't seem like that much time had passed since the incident had happened. So maybe like a week or something later, and her in the wake of the incident, her friends may have gotten a hold of the picture.
Yeah,
I never really got the impression that she was sitting on it because she was too upset or something.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, she even says it in the movie. She's like, hey, literally this just got sent to me. And that I think that the second, especially as a sister, like as soon as you see that, you're like, this is the reason. Kids are malicious in high school. That would have thought process would have immediately gone to this is why something happened. And everyone, like if my friend sent me this picture, everyone in the school's seen it.
Yeah.
So I don't think she sat on it at all.
All right. Yeah. It's interesting when you listen like to commentaries of like how filmmakers look at scenes and like what they kind of pushback little pushback. Like he was like, I could do whatever I wanted in this movie, and there'd be little things that they were like, oh, like you need to like explain this a bit more or make it clear like how long did she have it and like did she go to them right away? And like I said, he looked at it as like like she found her brother like that. There'd be a lot for her to kind of deal with too before and then also showing that to it's the right thing to do, of course, but showing that to your parents like like I think this is the reason that he did this, and that had to be probably a hard thing for any kid to do, even someone her age. It wouldn't be an easy conversation to have with your family at all.
Yeah,
like whatsoever.
It's funny you mentioned that about the director, Gaius, because it just makes me think of when we were talking about Mr. Brooks, and I'm talking like, I need more backstory, I need more explanation into why things are happening. And then this, I'm just like, no, we're good. We're good. I got it. And so like to think about what the director's trying to get, like give me information for, like that just made me feel bad because it's so hard as a director to think what viewers are going to think about specific scenes. Like, how are they going to interpret how much how much they know about the backstory, or how, or like what they're like, because you read into, you had a lot of inferences in Mr. Brooks where I needed a little bit more clarification, and for this we were kind of like, I guess it was more of a no, I got it.
I remember when I was like, is a movie good if I have to like justify my own like backstory? Like, I still look back
hypotheticals, be like, I think this
is happened. Well, I didn't write the fucking thing. Why do I have to figure out why X, Y, and Z happened?
You should have written.
That's what we came out of. I mean, Carl, that episode, like, even though I picked the movie, like, once you listen to that episode, I feel like one of my buddies sent me a message saying, like, I felt like you gradually realized that the movie wasn't good while you were, even though you picked it, even though you liked it, like, the more Owen talked to you, the more you were like, oh, maybe you're right. It's not that good. Oh, maybe not so much with this one though. I think I had a better week with this one.
Dude, this movie was great. This like, every single thing that happened, like, there's sometimes a lot of like just fillers in movies, like certain exposition or certain little things that just kind of like long shots or anything like that. But this, every single little interaction mattered, and I really like kind of seeing just Jason Bateman's character be so dismissive to his wife because he's so ingrained in this life, and like, you can see how much of a dick he is, even though he probably doesn't even think about it. And that transitions to the way that he's treating his kids, and he just thinks, oh, I was like that when I was a kid, I turned out fine, he'll be good.
Right.
But it's just a different way to grow up, and that's one of the biggest things I took away from the movie was like, I mean, living in the internet age, as a young kid, you kind of go through this angst period, and if you really don't have very many friends and you kind of meet someone online, it's very easy to open up, and you really have no idea the dangers of what it is just letting personal information out to random strangers that can completely either A, ruin your life and steal your identity, or B, like completely bully you and create this whole thing that will lead you to try and do something, take your life. And it was just such a realistic like viewpoint on how dangerous, like, I was telling Carl, like, as we finished, I was like, this movie's gonna make me never want to post anything on the internet
ever. Yeah. Ever again.
Yeah.
I do want to ask you guys, because like a lot of people I know do like the movie, that I've seen it. There's a big debate on whether the whole like we need to communicate better thing is heavy-handed in the movie, like if it eats you over the head with it. And I was wondering what you guys thought about like its themes. Were they like, told just right, or did it feel like they're like, all right, this is the kind of the message like the movie's like trying to send to people watching it?
To be honest, I got caught up in the stories too much to feel like I was being beaten over the head by the themes. I mean, really, what reminds me the most about the themes is just the title of the movie itself. I didn't have the impression once it was over that like
some soapbox sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Like they were trying to just shove it down my throat. But it did really give me this uneasy feeling about technology, and I think that that's what it was trying to accomplish.
Right.
Yeah, I think that it gave me an uneasy feeling in terms of what to share, but I think it showed how great technology can be because you can connect with people in a different way than you are in real life. Just like kind of what I was saying before, is that people seemed to be more real with strangers online than they were with their real family and loved ones.
Yeah. Right.
And so like that was a very interesting way to show, because a lot of people feel like that all the time, when like sometimes people get socially awkward and anxious when they're trying to have a difficult and tough conversation with someone, where like going up to your dad saying like, hey, I feel like you don't love me, is an impossible thing for a fucking 13-year-old kid to go and talk to his dad about. But like talking to someone online about it can seem very, very easy. And so like there's that, like Carl said, disconnect where it's like, I think that it was very subtle enough where I could see the differences between real life human interaction and how like the online stuff was where people felt the most comfortable. And I think that was because they felt comfortable, they felt willing to open up and share personal information that ended up biting them in the ass. And that's the tough part, where it's like, how much do you share? How much do you trust? Make sure you
Right.
know, and that's why real life human interaction is important, because that's where you can see someone for who they truly are.
Yep, I agree. I mean, it's interesting. This movie came out in 2012, and we talked about this with different movies before, where it seems like why they kind of hold up is because years later they can still be just as relevant today. And I feel like the whole like technology thing and people like getting lost in like social media and like the internet is an even bigger problem for kids today, especially.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Cyberbullying, especially.
Yeah. So that's what's interesting to watch it, like, removed from when it came out in 2012, is that this is still very much a big thing for a lot of people. And I think that's why this movie did not make a lot of money. It has, like, since it came out, like, when people do catch it and discover it, that's one of the things that they talk about is like why it feels more relevant today than it probably even did. It was pretty bad then too, but like
Yeah.
it's gotten it's gotten even worse, I think, today with like so many social media platforms, like kids of all ages being on them, and and people not really communicating with each other, whether it's in the household or like friends or like anything like that. I think that's in a lot of ways it's gotten worse, I think.
Yeah.
Uh,
I can agree
than
with
when
that.
this movie first came out. But yeah, I mean, I personally don't think it's heavy-handed either. I agree with Carl that you kind of get like lost in the stories enough that it doesn't feel like they're like, oh, there's the message. Like it's right there.
By the way,
By the way, now like the overall like ending, like when the stories collide and it's like the whole slow-mo thing, like even people I know that love the movie like hate that part. It's like it's very dramatic. I mean, like we always talk about like really cheesy, like probably like film student shots, like, oh, this is gonna look so cool. Like probably the director
the
thought like it was
Bateman
really
hockey stick is so cool. Yeah.
yeah. And like, I had a friend like when they saw it like on it like the movie, but it started like laughing a little bit. They're like, this is kind of ridiculous. Like we were like in a really good spot till we got here, like necessary like slow mo. But do you
kind of liked it.
like them? Yeah, yeah.
I thought it worked. I mean, my counter would be, how would you have done it?
It's true. Yeah. But yeah, I wouldn't even know how. I mean, in a way that like is unique and different. Like, be hard to like. You could have just had like cut, like make it like anyone else would have done it. I mean, I think I agree with that. I can't think of another way that would even be.
It fit.
I thought it was good. You know, it's 3 stories that are all climaxing at the same time, and we sort of have a stoppage in time where we can sit in the climax and sort of feel more all of that emotion that was going on.
And know that it's the climax.
And no, right. Yeah, a little help from the director there. Like, all right, pay attention to this moment. It's important.
Yeah.
All right. Since it's a big ensemble cast, is there any one person particularly that you thought was like MVP of? Maybe like you were like that person gave the best performance of the bunch.
I think Frank Grillo and what's her name? Redenbacher or whatever it is.
You're Riseborough?
Yeah, so Redenbacher.
Redenbacher?
Oh god, yeah. I thought she did amazing.
Well, now that you know that she's British, you probably think she did an even better job.
Well, I just really believed her character.
She felt like a real actual reporter.
Person.
I was like, yeah, like I could see her on like your local news.
Yeah.
Like that's what like yeah, what about
Also, can I say, I don't know if this is a little bit like mean to say, but maybe this was trying to promote like kind of how lonely she was, but for someone who's as beautiful as she was, and she was hooking up with like her like sort of
her
chubby
boss,
boss sort of like editor, I was like,
yeah,
really?
Was it they had a relationship?
Yeah,
they were having sex or slept together, yeah. And I think it's so funny because they sleep together and then she asked him for a favor like right after, and he was like, oh, that's why you did
that's
this.
right.
It really does seem like that's why she did it. She was like, all right, I need something from you. So here you go. Because she didn't look like she enjoyed it. She didn't enjoy it. She didn't look like she enjoyed it at all. No. She was like, it was like a means to an end. But yeah, Frank Grillo is probably my favorite, I think. They're all really good. Andrea Riseborough as well, even though she has a very long name that can barely fit on the movie poster, was also very good. But I thought everyone did a pretty good job.
I'll be different and say I thought Bateman was the best. His scene where he cries at the end.
Oh yeah, that's really good.
Was really well done. You know, he did great when he was acting as a lawyer, and then when he was like angry dad, when he was dismissive dad, I thought he did just a good job all around. I did really like Frank Grillo. I thought he was He's great as a tough guy. It was weird to see him without a beard in this movie.
Yeah. I mean, what I like about Frank Grillo though is that you don't expect. I mean, you don't expect it from him, like because you're used to him playing like certain types of roles.
He still has the hard ass. Like,
yeah, he does. He does.
Yeah.
I don't think you could completely get rid of it. I think that's just
No.
still in Frank Grillo. Like it's in his DNA.
Well, he looks like he's a Marine. He looks like an ex-Marine. So like you can't really get rid of that on screen.
And even though like they're in the least realistic, I mean the least gratifying story, I still think Paula Patton does a good job too. Like, and especially in her scenes at the beginning, like you said, she does kind of like completely disappear, but like she doesn't really have a lot to do once they start like trying to figure out like who took their identity and all that stuff. Like, I feel like I would want to be with her a bit more in the movie.
Yeah,
I thought she did like made some interesting and really good choices as an actress. I thought. In a story that kind of doesn't play as strongly as the others, but
that one kind of fizzles out, unfortunately for me. And Skarsgard, I think he's a great actor. My favorite is his. I mean,
still looks seedy.
Well, yeah, I mean, my favorite character that he's ever played probably is when he was in Big Little Lies. I'm not gonna say
Pretty Little Liars.
But like this one, I was a little bit disappointed with. Maybe it's the writing. Whole scene at the laundromat that he goes to is just like weird. It just doesn't make any sense. Like what his interaction for that would be. And then also the kid who plays Noah Bobo. I think that they literally picked him right after Crazy Stupid Love, and they're like, we literally need this kid
right
this
here,
exact character, because that's the only thing I could think of. Because he plays kind of the exact same thing. I feel like he just switched families. And this was his character.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, well, as far as get a little bit of info about the movie, there's not a lot. I mean, a lot of it, like I explained, like while we were in the episode, like some of the director's thoughts. I think it's unfortunate that there's not a lot enough about this movie. Opened in limited release on April 12th, 2013. It premiered at film festivals in 2012. It only opened in 15 theaters and grossed $124,000 and placed number 31 at the box office. The film's widest release domestically was 180 theaters, and it ended up earning $1.4 million domestically and $1.5 million globally. I don't know how a movie like this with a cast like this, like, kind of got dumped a bit.
Yeah,
because it has reviews of 70% fresh on Rotten Tomatoes. Yeah, I always thought it was interesting though. Like, I discovered this movie randomly, and I didn't really know anything about it. I was surprised that it didn't have more eyes on it because it cast is really great. The writing's strong. I think it's a good for someone doing their first feature film after doing a bunch of documentaries. I think also is technically really well made. Like, it's shot really well. It looks great. Yeah, it's kind of crazy to me that this didn't really catch on.
You think it's maybe just how heavy the topics are?
I think that could have been some of it. Yeah, because a lot of it is. I mean, like I said, when I suggested it, I was like, yeah, it's pretty heavy. Like, so I think that could have been part of it. But yeah, it's interesting. This seems like the kind of movie that would kind of be like on like a lot of like people's radar, especially like
choice.
Yeah, like it'd be like kind of an awards thing, and like, but unfortunately, wasn't. But I guess the cool thing that we talked about earlier with this show is that they said they've discovered movies that they've either forgotten about or didn't even know about. So hopefully, with this one, people will like watch it because they.
How did you watch it? Do you have a physical copy or?
I actually don't have a physical copy of it.
Yeah, I just rented it on the Google store. So if anyone wants to watch it, I didn't really search for it on any media platform, on any streaming service, but I'm not sure if it's there. If it is, it might be on like Paramount Plus. That one has some sort of renegade movies out there, but I need to look. Do you have any info on if it's
I can look it up now. I have it on like a hard drive, so that's how I watched it. But yeah, you got yours.
Just a hard drive full of just like hundreds of movies.
It's like I have like top of like all this back here. I have like 8 or 9 hard drives that have like 300-400 movies on them.
And that's like, amazing.
And I'm always like, I don't know, and I'll end up watching the same shit, even though I have other stuff I can watch. Yeah. No, I mean it's available on not streaming anywhere for free. Oh wait, nope, Plex. I don't know what Plex is, but it is available there for free.
Little Plex plug. Download Plex, guys.
Little Plex plug.
Plex users.
Yeah, we actually gonna message them like, yo, we just mentioned you and no one knows who you are, so can you hook us up with something? But yeah, everywhere else, Apple TV $3.99, Redbox $3.99, Vudu $3.99, Amazon Prime Video. Yeah, either Plex is the only place you can watch it for free. Otherwise, you have to do what Owen did. I will have like these movies like available, like, yo, I can just send it to you, and he'll be like, no, I'll just rent it. I'm like, all right. Remember that?
$4 just gets me. You know what? I gotta watch it, no matter what.
Or when I actually had like a physical copy of 25th Hour when I first showed you that, you're like, why do you have like a DVD? Like we could just.
I also don't have. I mean, I don't know if you can play DVDs. I usually just watch it on anything on my Xbox. I'll just stream it from there. So like, if you brought a physical copy over, I don't have a Blu-ray just like sitting around to play.
You can play Blu-ray and Xbox One.
Nice. All right. Yeah. Bring some physical
there you go.
stuff over.
Yeah. Well, there we go. Now we have. Yeah. It always gets like dismissed. Like, no, I'll just rent it. I'm like, all right, I'll get it for free.
Yeah.
Seems like we're done.
True.
But yeah. All right. Any we have questions, and then just in case Carl was going to be on, I did reach out to Twitter to throw Carl in for one, so you have one together, just in case. Before we get to that, just like overall closing thoughts, like, you know, what you like, something you would recommend to someone else, like if anyone was like looking for something to watch, or your overall final feelings about the movie.
Yeah, overall, I'd say it's definitely one that if you want I think it's very artistically done and a very well shot movie with like, if you want a good drama, this is a good one. If you like movies that are drama, I wouldn't really call it like a thriller. I'm not really sure what genre it was under when I picked it.
On Wikipedia, it says it's a psychological drama. I was like, that sounds a little.
It's kind of
a little too fancy.
Because it's 3 different vignettes.
Yeah, it's hard to put it in a specific one, but I definitely recommend it for anyone who's interested in a good drama. But it is one of those things that I've thought about, like, when do you watch this movie? Do you watch it on a Tuesday night or like family movie night for disconnect? Like, it's kind of a difficult one to figure out the time and place to watch it. So I definitely recommend it for everybody. It's great out. It's great. It's hard. It's gripping. There's a lot of great acting in it, and so I definitely recommend it. If you guys have getting in your feels or something, or you have some time for it, just check it out. I think it's definitely worth the watch.
What about you, Carl?
I would also agree with Owen on the not sure about the right time and place to watch it, but it's definitely one of those movies that if a friend recommends it to you, I would certainly check it out. Good acting and makes you think. The topics are good, and I don't know if I would watch it again soon, but watch it again.
Yeah, it's definitely not like a fun one to just throw on. You're like, I gotta kill time.
Yeah. Also, two full hours, I think.
Yeah, it's long. It's a long one. Yeah. Did it feel long to you guys?
Well, I paused it at one point just to like go up and grab some water or something. I was like, oh my gosh, there's 50 minutes left. And there's just so much buildup that I was like, gosh, like how much more can they do before everything crashes down?
Right.
So I wouldn't say that I got to a point where I was checking my watch, but it definitely is it's a good runtime.
Yeah, I think it's engaging enough where like the length doesn't really matter in the end.
No.
Like I think the stories overall are just pretty interesting enough. The characters are interesting enough. Also, just really great performances from like a really stacked ensemble cast. I think there's a lot that kind of keeps your attention where you don't really think about like how long it actually is. I didn't feel the length either when I first saw it, and I still haven't seen it a few times since. So, well, yeah, I'm glad that glad you guys enjoyed it. I'm always worried when it's like stuff like this where like, oh yeah, I really love that movie. And Carl, like sometimes with Owen, like I'll show him stuff like for the first time, and it's that awkward like looking over like, is he like it? Like especially when it's like one of your favorite movies or something.
Yeah, like showing your friend a video and being like, oh my god, he's not reacting at all.
Not reacting at all.
It was like when you told me 25th Hour and you were just like staring at me for like certain scenes, and I was like, this is sick, man. I like it. I love that movie. It's great. But it is funny when you're showing someone that a movie that you care a lot about.
Yeah, and then you ended up doing that to me when you showed me
Shot Caller.
Shot Caller. Yeah, you're like looking over like, oh, this part's pretty good. Like
I was like,
right now,
for this
now I know what it feels. Now I know what it feels like. Yeah, I mean, I would. We usually mention like ask the stuff is up to now. A lot of these people are still very much working. Jason Bateman, of course, still a working actor. Henry Riseborough, actually, I hadn't he got nominated for an Oscar this last ceremony for To Leslie, and she got like she didn't really get in trouble, but like, no one really saw the movie, and a lot of her famous friends like pushed Academy voters to vote her in for Best Actress.
That was her.
That's her. That's her. Yeah.
No.
So I mean, it's not like we talked about this before. Like Academy Awards is like one part are you talented, and the other part is like you campaign for it.
Who do you know here?
And who do you know? And like they really had a bunch of famous friends that were like, hey, like someone like this other actress is probably safe, so you need to vote for Andrea for this movie because no one's really seen it, and she deserves to be, in that 5 group of ladies. And it kind of sparked a little controversy on like what's fair as far as Oscar voting and all that stuff. But apparently she's great in the movie. But I mean, I guess it's just the tactics of like how they go about doing
That's
it.
unfortunate.
Yeah,
especially after seeing her in this when she just stellar job.
Yeah, and honestly, if you see her in other stuff, like it's never the same in any of her movies. Like she's completely different in like everything that she's been in, and like she like really is like a chameleon of an actress.
Amazing.
And the guy who directed this, he won the Academy Award for a documentary he did in 2005. But he's only made one other movie since one feature film since this, and it was Semper Fi. I've never seen it. I think it's interesting that this guy, like, he seemed like he has like a lot of good like a good technical eye. Like I thought he'd be way more feature films after this.
Yeah.
But I mean, it could also just be that he is like kind of immersed in like documentary filmmaking and more into that than
he could be picky.
Could be picky, yeah. But yeah, well, I'm glad you guys enjoyed it. And so I have some questions here. I'm gonna give you your twos together first.
Okay.
All right. So on Twitter at Lula Maybill, just in case one's brother is on, ask them who has the better taste in movies. Between you two. Between you two.
Oh gosh. I mean, I will say we like a lot of the same stuff. I mean, what do you think?
I would say he's watched more movies than
I've probably seen more.
He's probably seen more movies than I do. So here's the thing. Whenever I'm around Owen, he will ask me, hey, you got to see this movie. It's so good. So I have a list of about 400 movies that I need to see for Owen. And
your notes.
Exactly. So, but as far as what he likes and what we like, I think we really kind of like a lot of the same things, kind of gripping, gritty. Well, maybe I'm speaking for myself here, but
we both like very gory action. We do enjoy that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, we like a lot of the same TV shows. I'll say that as well. But I think that like in terms of movie taste, it's really hard to say who has the best one because obviously I'm going to say me.
You're going to see you, yeah. And you're on every other week, so you have to.
Yeah, of course. But I think that like just in terms of taste and like what we enjoy, it's just like us, identical.
Well, oh, there you go. Yeah, it's interesting too because I've been asked from us doing the show like who has better taste in movies, but I think we like a lot of the same stuff usually. Mr. Brooks excluded. Yeah, I think it's similar stuff. But yeah, that was interesting. I'm glad I got that question because I thought one of you was going to be like, "Oh yeah, definitely me."
Yeah,
that's a good question.
That's a good one.
All right, podcast Overlord is for both of us, Owen. I know. Oh, okay. If playlists didn't do the editing and stuff for your podcast, do you think you guys would have actually done one together? There was a lot of talk when we started it about wanting to do a podcast, but I don't think I would have had the time to do what Playlists so happily does for us, which is edit the show and deal with audio issues and stuff like that. So I kind of think we would probably, me personally, still be talking about wanting to do it, but Playlists helps a lot because I don't think I can do it. I don't think I would have the time to do it.
Yeah, I mean, from just talking with the guys on So Wizard podcast and like all the editing that they do, that was one of the big sort of realizations for me when they were kind of talking about how much time it does take. Because I know for a fact we would have looked into it, figured out what software we needed, and definitely like probably recorded a couple things to see what it would look like and like gone down that path. But yeah, I'm not sure what the timing and how much effort that would have taken. And so like yes, they take a lot of the back end stuff off our plate, which is extremely helpful. And right. I mean, shout out to Playlist as always. But yeah, I think that we would have given it our good old college try, and we would have definitely pursued it. But I think to get to where we are now, it would have taken much longer.
Yep, I don't think so. I recorded episode 84 with Jackson today. I don't think we would have had 84 episodes of this and now 8 episodes of this.
Yeah,
I would have not crash and burn because we weren't into it. I just think it'd just be a lot of work, and like that. I mean, it takes me a bit to like edit some of the like short clips that I have to do for like social media. I can't imagine because they have to like listen to the whole thing and like kind of mess with people's audio. Oh yeah, that's true. That's true. And they have to like make sure everyone's audio is good and like cut out any dead air, like stuff like that. That's a lot of work. It doesn't seem like it would be, but it is. And I don't think I would. I know you wouldn't have had the time to like do that, and I don't think with like every job I have, I would have the time to do that either. So
It's a good question. That's a good question. I mean,
this is why we always, this is why we always thank them at the end because they really believe in the show, but they just do a lot of work.
Yeah,
to make the show good. So yeah, I mean, I
thank
think
playlist.
Thank you, playlist. All right, let me get one for you, Owen, at Eric Weber. 1 second. Let's see. Okay, I got it. All right, Owen, you listen to the regular show. Is there any episodes that you wish you could be on recently, or any topics you would have liked to discuss with Gaius and Jackson?
I mean, I love talking about Oscar stuff because it's just like the most recent one that you guys did with sort of talking about like Barbie and like your picks.
For the early like Oscar.
Early stuff, and like honestly, certain things just like the Jonathan Majors thing, like this episode that you guys just did. Like, I'm really excited to hear that one. I mean, when I listen to the regular show, it's always I have a little bit of a pang because I'm like, oh, I have some good points and good thoughts on those things, and I wish that I could always just chirp in and get something done. But yeah, anything that's Oscar related recently is probably the ones that I would have really enjoyed to go on, because typically I'll find some other ones, Gaius, that you'll mention like foreign film or other things that are kind of nominated that I might not know about. That gives me a good list of things that typically are acclaimed and for me to watch. And I also love to shit on the Academy for picking certain things that are just Oscar bait. And so I literally like to kind of to spit my opinions about those. And I remember last year when we did the Oscars, that was a fun time, and there's some good episodes. So those are the recent ones that I probably would have wanted to be on.
Yeah, and credit to Jackson. Jackson joined like in the middle of award season. He joined at like the beginning of January, and he got thrown into like, all right, he's like, I normally just watch the Academy Awards, and like I was like, all right, there's Golden Critics Choice. It's Golden, sad Critics Choice. So he was like, I enjoyed watching it all, but he was like, it was funny too because like when it was over, I was like, oh, I'm glad this is like finally over. And he's like, yeah, we don't have to like talk about this for a bit. And then he messaged me that next day. And he's like, I feel so bad saying we should do an episode about early 2023 contenders because I just said I don't want to talk about this anymore. But I just think it'd be interesting to do. So like, yeah, to his credit, he really kind of deep dived into that and like learned a lot about award season and like how it all works. And like, he was really surprised by like the career Academy Award. We talked about a lot where it's like person wasn't that great in it. In this because they've been in a lot of movies and you're finally giving them an award.
Yeah,
Jamie Lee Curtis. So he did a really good job adjusting to all that. But that's interesting. What episodes that you wish you could have jumped in? Carl,
if I'm gonna give a realistic answer, all of them. Like all of them are great to. Like I said, every time I listen to it, I'm like, I wish I could have. I have some things I wish I could have said.
Yeah. Okay. And for me, at Slasher Trash, you talked about marketing the show before. That Slasher Trash is a great name.
Oh wow, yeah.
You talked about the marketing before. What does it really entail, though? The show. So I think I use every social media platform now. So it's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok now too. People have messaged me that they found the podcast through like the video clips that we put on TikTok. I think every one of them has like a different purpose and different like audience you can kind of reach. Instagram is good because I have that built-in thing with G-Reels already, so that is a really big one. But there's a lot more podcast conversation on Twitter, so that's another place where people discover the show. they all really just help. And I've actually talked to Owen about this over the weekend, where I sometimes I'm like, I wonder if I should ask like, what clips do you want me to use? Like, what should I do to promote this episode? Uh, I kind of it's already built into what I do for a living. It's usually just so much easier
Your
for me to just
instincts
do
are
it.
very good. I'll tell you that. You have very good instincts
Thank you.
when it comes to what to post.
So yeah, but it's a lot of work, but it's also pretty rewarding because like the show's doing well, so I feel good about that. But like I wouldn't just focus on just one. Like I think they're all useful. Like I only use Facebook now to promote the show. I don't like use Facebook at all otherwise. But there's also like podcasts like groups on Facebook that like you share the episodes there. A lot of people who are just helping each other as far as like finding guests for shows and all that stuff. Like it's a whole like world I didn't know about until we started doing this. Thankfully, everyone's been very supportive. Like you brought up the So Wizard podcast. They have over 400 something episodes, and they've never missed a week since they started. And I don't know how they do that because we've definitely have taken some breaks.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, like I think they're at like 452 episodes, and they've never missed a week. And I'm really like looking at people like them and how they're doing it. I changed how we did some of our posts because of like, Mark J. Parker, who's been on the show, like the Release Date Rewind podcast. Like, I was like, I'm not trying to copy how you promote the show, but I like
you have some good ideas.
You have some good ideas. So like, can I kind of like utilize that? And they're like, yeah, go ahead.
Feeling shamelessly.
Yeah. And also I was only like in the beginning, only promoting the episode the day it dropped and kind of not think about it until we recorded another one. But now I feel like the reception's gotten better since it's been like a daily posting about like, and especially with this one, since it's every other week, it allows the show to breathe a bit. I think that's why the Dogma one did so well, because like there's like this gap before we do the next one. So it makes it a lot easier to vote. But I will say this, I've talked about this before, I think everyone should just understand what their roles are when you're like doing stuff like this. Like if you're cool with being the promoting guy, and then that's great. I think everyone should like play to their strengths, I guess, is what the best way to put it. And like person showing up to just be on the show, like that is just as important as promoting it, because you have to be like invested in what you're talking about and care about what you're talking about, and act like you want to be there. So like I think that is also very important. So yep, I would just say that it's a lot of work, but like doing something you like and you really love it, it becomes less work, I think.
Yes.
Yeah. So
good questions.
Yeah, really good questions this week. And Carl, thank you for being on with us. I wasn't expecting it. I'm very happy it happened. I'm glad you enjoyed the movie, and I'm glad that you kept up with the conversation. Like I said, I'm listening to it right now. And like, if I would close my eyes though, I wouldn't know who was actually talking at a certain point.
It'd be interesting to hear some of the comments.
I have to keep going. Like, Carl, what did you think? So they know it's like you talking as opposed to Owen. I hope it felt good for you being on and that you had a good time. And
it's great. I love the banter between you guys. The show's doing great. It was really fun to be on, and yeah, good movie choice too.
Thanks. And so the week after next, it'll be Owen's turn to pick. I think he already picked it. I think he picked it already. He might check and see if it's trending first before he makes it like official.
Yeah, maybe I'll do some research. Figure out who's in the doghouse and who's trending.
He'll be up next with his pick. And as always, you have to sign us off.
Got to sign us off. Yeah. Well, hey guys, just want to say thanks for tuning in again to Back to the Blockbuster Events Deep Dives with Owen and Gaius. Special guest, my twin brother Carl. Thanks for being on, man. It was great to watch the movie with you. I mean, I watched the last couple with Gaius, and it's always great to watch with people. I think that's been a great way to kind of extend my thoughts and have a great conversation about it to spark this conversation on the podcast. So that was really great. And just want to say, keep listening. Good Pods has been a fantastic outlet for us. Listen on there and getting us up the rankings, which is not the most important thing, but it is a great way to continue to find new indie podcasts. We have great support throughout that entire platform. And listen to all their podcasts too. They're all amazing and fantastic with some great people that we have had on the show. So listening through there, I personally like to listen to Spotify. That's how I get my podcast, but you can listen to it anywhere that you find podcasts. Google, Yahoo, I guess, YouTube, maybe. I don't know. Wherever there's an internet site, they probably have a podcast.
When you found out I use
so.
like Apple, when you found out I use Apple Podcasts, you were just like basic.
Like,
I was like, but now I've been using Good
hey,
Pods, so there we go.
That's the one that seems to be the most popular still. So Apple, keep listening on there too. But as always, guys, keep listening. I guess love the polls that you've been doing, all of the different clips that you've been showing. The Mr. Brooks one where me is just flying
launched out of a van.
Just launched out of a van was just amazing. So that was awesome to see. Yeah, just keep typing in questions. Guess and I, this is what we love to do. We love to talk on Mondays and listen to and share stuff with you guys on Fridays. It's just absolutely great. And keep listening to the main show. Jackson is absolutely killing it. So we just want to keep bringing you guys new content. Playlist, thanks for letting us be so creative. Big shout out to you guys. And it will be my pick in 2 weeks. I do not have one yet, but I got some good ones. Gaius and I have been talking over the weekend about ones that we might pick, and I'm not picking Pirates of the Caribbean Dead Man's Chest. That was a joke, by the way, Gaius. So as much as that is a fantastic movie, that it's not going to be my pick.
I was like, we can't even deep dive the first one. I was like, all right.
Yeah. But we'll get something good for you guys for next couple weeks. So looking forward to it. And as always, it's been a good one.
Peace.